Hello, everyone. This is Andres Restart. Right now, I'm kind of distracted. It's one of the reasons why the live stream was going a little bit late because I was watching a Heat game, and I thought the game would be over by now. I gave it just a few extra minutes just in case, but they went to overtime, and I have it playing on my phone right now. There's 15 seconds left. We have the ball. They can make one more play. The game's tied. This might go to double overtime. I'll have it on here. I will still talk. I am not going to ignore this live stream, but I need this win. There's 15 seconds left. Just score it right now, end the game, and then we'll talk about Nintendo. But I need this win. They're about to check it in. Bam's got the ball. Oh, you almost screwed up. Oh, they give it to Tyler, our guy. Come on, Tyler, do something. Come on. 8 seconds. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. He scored with 1.8 left. Dude, with 1.8 left. Sorry if I'm screaming. Oh, God. Oh, God. With 1.8 left, he did it. All right, the guy defend the ball for 1.8. Yeah, you're right, Sean G. Late night NBA rumor chat. Oh, bro, come on, Tyler. Awesome. So we were down, and look, we're gonna talk about Nintendo, but just bear with me here, guys. I'm so elated right now. I was being very sour and bitter because we were down by 14 points in the fourth quarter. I was like, listen, our team's playing terrible. The only player is playing well is our current best player, Tyler Hero, who no one believed in for the last few years. But all of a sudden, he's figured it out. He's playing the best basketball of his life. He scored 18 points in the fourth quarter. He scored 6 of 8 from the three-point line, which is insane. And he just scored perhaps the game winner. But there's 1.8 seconds left. And Detroit has the ball. I hope the team can stop them from scoring. It's just 1.8. So I'm just ugh. But once this game is over, hopefully, once they do one more play with 1.8 seconds left, the Heat defend, I will not be upset, and we'll go full in hype overdrive into Nintendo stuff. But, I'm just, oh, boy. Oh, come on. Just one more defensive play. Just one more defensive play. You only have to stop them for 1.8 seconds. They might miss. Don't foul them. Just, okay, they're about to make the play. They are about to make the play. This is it. Maybe I should do. I've actually wanted to do a basketball podcast, but time. Okay, what's gonna happen? Okay, no! They left it open. They scored. Now with 0.7 seconds, it's now a tie game with 1.1 seconds. I don't know. Oh, God. Oh, come on. You could have... All right. I'll keep my eyes peeled, but I'm now going to talk to you guys. How's it going? Wait, Andy got fouled? Are you serious? He got fouled too? Where? There was no one there. Oh, it was a technical foul? Where's the technical foul? Was it the coach? You just gave them a point. So now either we score in 1.1 seconds or that's it. We don't even get a double overtime. Oh, come on. All right. So maybe they score in 1.1. Maybe my team scores in 1.1 seconds. They just scored in 0.7, but we're taking from the other side. We're done. It's over. We just lost. And I don't know who got the technical foul because I haven't muted. Anyway. This is ridiculous. Wait, did they give them the ball too? The hell? Yeah, all right. So, what's been going on lately with Nintendo? It's still not over. Oh, they did give him the ball too. Oh. What? That's egregious. I don't know what happened there. I am disgusted. I am disgusted. But I'm not going to let it ruin my night. So, with all of that sadness, unless you're a Detroit Pistons fan, out of the way. What's going on with Nintendo? So a lot, actually. A lot's been going on with Nintendo. I'm like taking a look at my channel just like as a reminder, right? So last week we had Nintendo shareholders meeting, right? And they confirmed a variety of things. We got a lot of sales data updates, but the big stuff we were waiting for was for Switch 2 news. And a lot of people jumped the gun when, with the initial information, there wasn't Switch 2 stuff. So people were saying, see, there was no Switch 2 information, but then like hours later, there was Switch 2 information. Nintendo confirmed backwards compatibility, and the NS accounts will be coming over. And so that's big. It kind of feels like we are entering the next phase of Nintendo Switch 2. And I'm going to be doing a deeper dive on this, hopefully a little bit later this week with a video on that. But then also last week, there was a data mine of the Nintendo MMO test. And within the MMO test, we saw some interesting information there as well. My brain's kind of flopping right now. What was it? Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. All right. So we saw proof from a data mine leak of the Nintendo MMO game of two things: 4K support and MMO shaders, mesh shaders. Now, we've seen other Nintendo games have 4K support within data mines like Thousand Year Door, but the big difference here was that we saw mesh shader support as well, which the Switch does not support. So it basically tells us that, yeah, they're definitely working on some sort of Switch 2 version of this game. So there's a variety of implications. One, yeah, Switch 2, 4K support, mesh shader support, things we could have predicted, but it's there. But then the other implication is this Nintendo MMO game has a Switch 2 version, which if there's a Switch 2 version for this, it has us wondering, okay, what about other games? What about Thousand Year Door that already has 4K within its data mine, right? And then there's a whole bunch of other stuff. Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. We don't think Pokemon Legends ZA because the leaks don't include a Switch 2 version, but maybe they update it later down the road. That's a possibility. So we also got that information last week. Something else that came out in terms of the Switch 2 stuff. I haven't done a deep dive on this yet. I'm going to. I might include it with that like second phase of Switch 2 stuff. But we also saw that we got updates on the shipping data. And it looks like from this one place that they're I don't know if it was like screens or something, but there's a lot of assembly going on. Again, I haven't like done a deep dive on this yet, right? But they're getting like 240,000 parts into like a warehouse or something like that. Like that's a lot. And so the implication is that if they're getting that large of a number of parts, if they ramped up to that level, and that's just one place, there's going to be other places, right, on a per month basis. Even if they haven't actually started putting the entire package together, if they have all these parts laying around in the warehouse, for how long will that happen? Likely not for a very long time, which really seems to strengthen the idea that the Switch 2 is still likely coming out in the first half of next year. Even though Nintendo hasn't done a full reveal of it yet, first half of next year still seems to be in play. And with that in mind, there is something interesting going on. There's a whole bunch of stuff, right? I'm trying to summarize everything, but there's a whole bunch of stuff. Nash Weedle did something weird on his Twitter account. So looking at it here, I didn't make a video on this, by the way. I might mention it later, but it's just something I noticed. They didn't define it as a leak express, so they're not calling it a leak, but I find it curious, and let me share it with you guys. It's just weird, is basically what I'm saying. Like it feels like they might be hinting at something, but we'll see. So Nash Weedle, if y'all click on and translate it for all of you who don't read Spanish. Nash Weedle, in 2025, the April Fair Sevilla moves to May. You might think, not a big deal. Okay. Why is that a big deal? Why include Mario there? Why is there a Mario thinking face there? Doesn't seem like a big deal, right? I would agree that's okay, whatever. I thought about it for a second, but I thought, well, maybe he's just into it. Okay. But then he retweets it the same day. Why would he retweet the same thing? That was kind of weird. Again. And so, yeah, I did kind of interpret from this that Nash Weedle is suggesting that Switch 2 is coming out in April instead of May. That's all. It's not calling it a leak. You know, it's just kind of weird that he would just immediately retweet this. Maybe it was a mistake, but it's also like, why are you talking about this? I don't know. It's just weird. Now something that was defined as a leak express was this, which we talked about today in the video. Basically that in portable mode, from what he's hearing, Switch 2 is going to have, you're going to be able to pre-configure different modes, like either a power saving mode or a more high fidelity mode in portable mode. So if you're not worried about draining battery, you can have this on to run better visuals. But if you want to save battery, you can. But there's no mention of this in docked mode. Implication being maybe in docked mode there isn't a feature like this, which would be different than compared to how we have it on PlayStation, Xbox, where you can pick like a performance or fidelity mode. So it's a little bit different, but it's interesting nonetheless. So that's like some of the Switch 2 related stuff, right? But there's still a whole bunch more. Like there's a lot more. Me going back to my channel to remember everything. We have Wind Waker HD. We have job listings for Wind Waker HD from like videogame.net or something. I forget. But there's a site that has it up, and they've leaked things. I guess technically it would fall under leak because it's information the company doesn't want to get out there. But they have put games on their shipping list, but like, you know, their pre-order list before. And they have amounted to something, but not always. It's a little hit or miss, but they're doing it for Wind Waker. And what makes this extra curious is that Pioro's account, let me take you to Pioro's account. I will leave that one open. I have another tab open that's interesting for other reasons, which we may touch on tonight. I'm not sure. I might save it for tomorrow. There's a lot. Hold on. Oh, I can't find Pioro's account. That must mean it's gone. Maybe he also quit the internet after that bullshit game. Anyway, so if we go to Pioro's account, we've been kind of curious as to why he turned his wallpaper into this wavy, watery sort of background. And with the recent Wind Waker HD listing, we're now thinking, oh, was Pioro hinting at another game release having to do with the Wind Waker? The Wind Waker is a Zelda game where you sail the open seas. This having to do with water. Maybe, right? So I don't want to go like 100% calling this like, oh, it's Wind Waker HD for sure. It's not for sure, but it does, you know, have me thinking, oh, maybe finally we're getting Wind Waker HD. And we have heard from PH Brazil that there's supposed to be a 3DS and GameCube game coming. Wind Waker is technically a GameCube game. Was he referring to that? Possibly, right? So we got that going on. Beyond that, though, we also have two teases that came out from Samus Hunter, right? Samus Hunter teased Donkey Kong News that was not a game, and we got that confirmed a day later. Yesterday we watched it, the Super Nintendo World Direct, the Donkey Kong Park. We thought that was what it was. We were pretty certain, and it was 100% spot on. But the other tease included an image of Link. I guess I'll show you that too. And this one's perhaps even more exciting for a lot of you. Here. I'm going to get to the chat, right? I'm just kind of summarizing everything. We'll kind of go through stuff, right? So this is the Donkey Kong thing, right? This is straight up the original CGI cutscene from Donkey Kong Country Returns, which, by the way, when we saw in the park, it is heavily inspired by Donkey Kong Country Returns. Not Donkey Kong Country on Super Nintendo, but Donkey Kong Country Returns. By the way, Donkey Kong Country's anniversary is this month. Anyway, this is the bigger question, right? We see Link playing an ocarina in the Skulltula house in Kakariko Village. And here Samus Hunter says this: I'll give you another hint for now. The Zelda picture is not a hint for a Zelda game. The picture is like a riddle for the title in question. Look at all the elements in that screen. If you consider that Link's about to play a song. There are cobwebs, maybe silk. We see Skulltula's skull-like faces, very much like the characters in Silk Song. This seems like a Silk Song hint. And what's interesting about this is that Samus Hunter has actually said, did they delete the tweet? They may have. Oh, I think they did. Interesting. Did they delete it? Or am I just missing something? The DQ was not for a game. Oh, no, they didn't delete it. It's right here. Now we may have to wait for the other game showcase that is not a Zelda title, and many of you got it right. So they showed off a Zelda tease saying it's not a Zelda title, and then many of us got it right. What are many of us saying? Silk Song. So it appears that Samus Hunter is teasing Silk Song, and they just got the Donkey Kong thing right. They got Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition right. They got Emula's Smiling Man right. They've been 3 of 3 in the year of 2024. So I definitely think they're worth talking about. I think they got something right. But is there more? Well, there is still more, because also PH Brazil has said that he's heard about a Nintendo Direct in February, which might seem like a no dumb moment, but not necessarily, because we didn't get a Direct this September. We only got one general Direct this year, and it was in June. Now, he's not saying what kind of Direct it's going to be in February, and it's subject to change. I could see that Direct happening in January instead. I'm not sure. But I'm willing to think that the Direct that we're supposedly getting in February, according to Page Brazil, is likely a partner showcase. And I wouldn't be surprised if this Silk Song tease, which, by the way, Samus Hunter just said it would happen in winter, we don't actually see until February, still winter, in a partner showcase. That's kind of my perspective. And so I feel like I've kind of summarized a lot of the big things that have happened over the last few days in the rumor, leak / news territory. So let's get to the chat. I'm sure I may have missed something, and we can dissect that. I am really upset the Heat lost that. They had it. Oh God, I'm so upset. All right, okay. Damn it. They had it. It was a miraculous comeback win. They got the game. Well, not almost a game winner, and then they botched it. 1.8 seconds left. Anyway, to the chat. So salty. So salty. Connor added me earlier. Hi, man. How's it going? Well, I would have been better if the Heat won, but I'll be okay. So if Botox Games was here, I know that he was talking about what Wii U game could be ported to MMD, which is either Woolly World Zero or Rainbow Curse. What Wii U game could be ported to MMD? What do you mean by MMD? My brain's lost on that. But yeah, I mean, I don't. In terms of like Wii U ports, I don't really expect more like Yoshi stuff, Kirby stuff. I think something Kirby's coming. I don't know if it's going to be another port, but we'll see. Cat Dad, sup, Andres? Love all you do. Keep it up, man. I will do my best. Thank you. Aurora Twilight, how am I doing? I'm trying to pull through. Hello there, Having Hope. Hello there, Nishwick Pops. You joined right at the end of the countdown, right at the end of my disappointment. Well, actually, I was very excited because we almost won the game and then lost it. Florida boy, do you feel that pain, or are you more of a Tampa sports fan, or just not a sports fan? Hello there, Super Chris. Hello there, Joyce J. Yo, Shanji, you're a huge Thunder fan. I'm happy for you. Thunder doing really well right now. Although Shaq got hurt, I hope he comes back. I mean, it's gonna take a little bit, but I hope he comes back, strong and ready to go. But yeah, Hero did pop off. That's like the one shining moment, like the one bright spot to our season so far. Super Chris, where's my Heat jersey? I'm gonna have to buy me a Hero jersey soon. Connor, Atsy, I saw your description, which it says in the hashtag Nintendo Direct. I wonder what does it mean. What did I put for the description? Because I didn't put much. I put lots of Nintendo rumors and leaks have been popping up lately. Let's talk about it. Hashtag Nintendo Direct, hashtag Zelda, hashtag Nintendo Switch 2. Because, well, as I just mentioned, there is Nintendo Direct discussion. Now I lost the chat. The Goob. 100%. I'll get to that. The Goob asked me, Mario's anniversary is next year. Makes sense why everything seems to be happening in 2029, 25. I know you mean 2025. Get ready for a big year, y'all. Yeah. Yep. Mario's anniversary, 40th anniversary next year. I think a new 3D Mario would be a great way to celebrate that while also launching a next gen console. Definitely. Going back to 100% real Waluigi. Nintendo rumor. Nah, this is basketball. I guess I clickbaited y'all. I opened up with my excitement and then disappointment towards the end of the Heat game. Man, we had it. That would have been an incredible game. I'm so disappointed. I'm sad. It's okay. It's okay. I'm trying to pull through here. Sam Talks Games. Let me pull it up here with the super chat. Thank you for the super chat. Unrelated, but I feel like I'm burnt out on most games right now. For a little while now. How have you gotten out of these ruts, if applicable? So, all right. I think it's a really interesting question. Thank you for it, Sam. I kind of get what you're saying, right? And for me as a content creator, right, sometimes I feel like, man, if I'm not playing games, am I really like a video game content creator? I think, you just got to live your life and do what makes you happy at the end of the day, right? Don't be worried about trying to fit yourself into a certain role or identity. Now, if you think that you might find yourself living a better life by maybe encouraging yourself to play more games, then go for it, right? But don't feel bad if you feel like taking a break from video games. Listen, like I talk about video games, right, all the time, and I also play video games, right? I have Brothership downloaded. I actually haven't started it yet because right now I'm trying to finish my run of Elden Ring. I finished the main campaign, but now I'm playing through the DLC, and I've done everything but this one area. I think I'm literally doing the last dungeon that's available. Like there's not like a necessary like set order in terms of how you do things in the DLC. But there's this one boss left. It's the Frenzied Wood area. It's kind of extra creepy. And so for me, I feel like once I beat that, I'll be done with the game. And so I'm going to be totally done with Elden Ring after that point. And before that, like I was playing Elden Ring. I did something. There was definitely things happening in between, but I took a break from it. Astrobot came out. I 100% in Astrobot. Once I finished Elden Ring, I'm going to be starting Mario and Luigi Brothership, right? But there are days I go without playing a game. Like I might just watch a show instead. That's fine. Or I'll just, I don't know, live my life, right? Like that's fine. Like, there are like over the weekend, I barely played games. Why? Because I hung out with my dad. I went out with friends, I exercised, I worked out, like I did different things. So, I guess my point is don't worry about it. Do you just live life and try to have fun? That's it. Don't force yourself to do something you don't want to do. And then eventually you'll get the itch again. If you like games, you get the itch. I mean, you're here, right? So you at least like talking about games still. So it's a different thing. Not to mention, like if you're predominantly a Nintendo gamer during this period of time, a lot of us hardcore Nintendo fans are going to stick through even during like the dry spells. We're still getting games, by the way. So I'm not trying to say like we're not getting anything, but this is a dry spell. This is a weak year for Nintendo. The kind of games we're getting this year are certainly lower tier overall compared to other years. You'll notice that we don't have any 9 out of 10 on games on Metacritic. Like typically we have a few of those every year, right? Nintendo is focusing on gearing up for next generation. So once Switch 2 comes around, once we see those big releases, I think the excitement level is going to certainly grow, right? And some of you that don't maybe feel like playing as much games right now might start to get that itch when we have things like Metroid Prime 4, a brand new open world 3D Mario, the next gen Mario Kart, or what have you, like ready on a new fancy console, right? So don't worry about it. You'll be good. Anyway, continuing on with the chat. Or was I? Super Gaming, I'm sorry for the scream. I was hyped, bro. I was so hyped. And then my soul was ripped right out of my chest. The real J-Stone asks me, I'd rather have a remake of Twilight Princess with a perfectly aged cartoony graphical over the realism from the Wii version. So you're saying you want a remake of Twilight Princess with cartoony graphics? Is that or am I misinterpreting you? Yeah, Shanji, I didn't have the volume on, so I didn't know exactly what happened. But I was like, how did they get? Someone must have been pissed over what happened at the end of that game. They called the tech, and well, the tech literally ruined the end of the game. But yeah. Velociraptor Ghost asks me, "Yo, Andres, how's it going?" I think I've discussed that point relatively well. I'm okay. I'm trying to pull through. Oh, and quick question. I just finished Resident Evil 4, and now I plan on getting Resident Evil Remake and Resident Evil 0. So after those two, what Resident Evil game should I play next? That is an interesting question. I don't want to pretend that I am a Resident Evil expert. I have not played every single Resident Evil game. I have played Remake, Re Zero, and Resident Evil 4, though. I've also played Resident Evil Village. I think what's interesting is that you can kind of go and you can really, I guess for me, right, I don't necessarily care about the continuity as much, right? Like, so I don't think you have to do it in order. And from the sounds of it, you're not doing it in order either, right? I will tell you that I really enjoyed Resident Evil Village. That was a good time. I do want to also, what is it? Resident Evil Biohazard, the one that's like in a old weird house. I don't know what number it is. Resident Evil 7, is that what it is? Yeah. I think you should probably, if I would recommend, even though I haven't played it, like I feel like those are like the modern Resident Evils. Go for Resident Evil 7 or Resident Evil Village. But, or try some, or do Revelations. Like there's not really a bad choice. Oh, well, we do have the Resident Evil 2 remake. That's a good one. I guess it depends on what's available on your platform of choice. All right. Let's see. Javon Dean, I want Nintendo Party Chat app for smartphone. They kind of have one. It's terrible. It only works for certain games. Hello there, Lion Star. I'm just trying to forget the end of that Heat game. Mike Odyssey, what are you not buying? You're not purchasing me? Please don't purchase me. What's going on? What am I missing? Taker610. Thank you for the super chat. Switch could be in real trouble this holiday. Sony announced a price drop for the base PS5 Slim Digital to just $379. That's a screaming deal. I'm trying to remember what I purchased mine for. Was it $400? How much was it before? Isn't that just like a $20 discount? I mean, it's good to have a discount, but I don't know. How much is it supposed to be? I don't remember. I don't remember how much I paid for mine. I know it was 400 something. So, and in terms of like, is this a real trouble? Well, fact matter is numbers have been trending downwards, and they're going to continue to trend downwards. The holiday sales will probably still be pretty good. I expect, while they'll be pretty good, they may also be the worst holiday sales we've seen for the entire generation. Well, okay, that's probably wrong. They probably won't be the worst of the entire generation because they really need to pick up steam in the first year or two, right? Switch sales by quarter. Let me take a look at this real quick. Let's see. What is this going to tell me by quarter? All right, let's take a look at Switch sales over time. Let's see how they've done. Okay. So quarter 4, this is, just in a month, right? That's the first month Switch was out. 2.74 million. But that first holiday period, quarter 3, they sold 7.23 million. Okay, so the next quarter 3, 9.41. The next quarter 3, 10.81. The next quarter 3, 11.57. Okay, that was still not the pandemic year. This is the pandemic year, right? No, I'm wrong. I'm getting confused. Okay, no, this was the quarter 3. This was the pandemic. So was this peak holiday sales? 11.57, 10.67, 8.23, 6.9. So 6.9. Is that the lowest it's been? Quarter 3, 9.41. Yeah. So I would say odds are we're going to get the lowest holiday sales period, right? If I'm not mistaken here. I don't think I am. I think yeah. So we're going to have the week, like, just looking at the trajectory, right? Like, we're going to see the weakest holiday sales no matter what Nintendo does. Now, can they stop it from being a significant drop-off? We shall see. We got Super Mario Party Jamboree, Echoes of Wisdom. There's that special Switch Lite. There's a variety of bundles. They have some different software discounts. I think it's been more interesting to see how Nintendo handles things early next year. I've technically left the train of arguing that Switch 2 can get revealed this year. Well, no, I can still make the argument, but I can't believe it. However, if Switch 2 is launching, say, April next year, then a November reveal could still happen, right? Like, we just got another Nintendo Direct after the shareholders meeting. How is it impossible? I don't think it's impossible. I'm not going to bet on it, though. I think maybe we could see a reveal late January. It's interesting though, thinking a little bit more on it, right? Like, you can argue, holiday sales, which, by the way, that's another big piece of news that came out last week. The president of Nintendo, Shuntaro Furukawa, said that holiday sales, they're not really too concerned about holiday sales being impacted by the awareness of the Switch successor. That's what the literal president of Nintendo said. That said, like, there is still going to be an impact, but is how significant the impact, that's Furukawa argues it's probably mostly negligible. That said, like, if Nintendo were to show off more of the Switch 2 now, maybe they could combat some of the purchases of PS5 this holiday. I think that makes sense, but, we've already been down this road of talking about things that make sense, and, it still doesn't seem to materialize into a reveal. Of course, if the console's not coming out till April, a reveal in November or January both could happen. Like, if they want to have the same window from reveal to release as Switch 1, you do it in November if the console's coming out in April. Or if you think you could have even a shorter interval because things have just become fast over the last 8 years, then maybe you can get away with that as well. All right, scrolling through. Oh, sweet. Eric Tedelato, thank you for the super chat. What do you think day one games for Switch 2 would be. Day one games. I think that we're going to get the day one launch titles, either 3D Mario or Mario Kart. And lately I've been leaning 3D Mario. Because I think the only reason we wouldn't get 3D Mario at launch is just because the game's not ready. And with Nintendo having not revealed the console yet, it does kind of have me thinking that we're looking at a later release into next year. How much later remains to be seen. I'm still optimistic on April, but maybe it's a bit later, right? And with the more time you would think would lead us towards, actually like towards Nintendo actually being done with 3D Mario, having it ready for launch. So I would say that odds are 3D Mario will be the launch. So it'll be the day one title, and Mario Kart will come out a little bit later, maybe for this holiday or sometime the year after. But I'm kind of hoping and pulling for both in the same year, sandwiching the year, like 3D Mario for the launch, Mario Kart for the holiday. So that's kind of like the big game. Smaller things, it's not in my wheelhouse to really predict realistically. I think there will be third-party games available. What those will be on day one, that's tough. I bet you Ubisoft will have something day one. I'm not sure. Now, I guess something else that should be mentioned is that we could have like a 1-2 switch. Like there could be Nintendo could have two titles available at launch, right? Not just Mario, but another game that's like a party game. We've seen some leaks suggesting from Codename Projects that we're probably going to get some sort of follow-up to Switch Sports. That could be the equivalent. But if it's something like Switch Sports, I feel like that is popular enough that it could warrant having its own sort of dedicated sales period and not be like pulled into the same day as 3D Mario. And also, if Nintendo's expecting better overall third-party support, they may not feel as compelled to put more than one game on day one. So I'm going to argue from Nintendo, the only game we see come out from them day one is 3D Mario, but there will be some third-party stuff. What those third-party games are, like, the thing is, I could throw out some names, but these names I could also see coming out a month down the road, 3 months down the road, 6 months down the road. There's so many possibilities. I'm not certain, but I do think Nintendo is going to have a lot of third-party support, at least in the first couple of years. Let's see here. Ronnie Fazio adds me, Silk Song's been developed for so long that I wonder if it'll cost more than $20. How about 30? I feel like I've seen a lot of indie games creep up in price, and with its popularity, I could see them going for 30. I can see that. Santox Games added me earlier. I think I've just played games too much, maybe, and that's led to burnout. Also, yeah, once Switch comes around, I'm definitely all in. Then just take a break, do other things, and you'll come back. Having hope, yes, some games need to finish before Xenoblade Chronicles X comes out. Yeah, we got until March, but that's a big one. So once you start playing Xenoblade X, if you plan on playing it from beginning to end, it's going to take you a while. It's a big game. There are people that play that game, feel like they put in a lot of time, and don't even get to the Skells, which is like the real beginning of the game. The Legend of Hyrule adds me. Hi, how is everyone? I missed you, Andres Restart. Aw. Hello, hope you're doing well. I haven't been active on your Discord in a while, so I hope things are going good. Still working on my fans Zelda project fan show of Ocarina of Time. Good luck with that. Mystery Pops, have you tried Stellar Blade yet? I got it recently, so I'm excited to try that. So I played the demo, loved the demo. It's been on my to-do list, but it's tough. I gotta play Brothership. And maybe I'll give Stellar Blade's not been on my list. Like I think that might be my next play. Although I also want to play Resident Evil 4 Remake. But yeah, it's on my list. I'm gonna get to it. I really did like the demo. Let's see here. Velociraptor goes at me. I want everyone to know that I hate Wind Waker's art style. I've always been one for realistic Zelda, and I pray to the golden goddesses that the Ocarina of Time remake uses a realistic art style. Oh boy. So how I feel on this. So I like Wind Waker's art style, but I like Wind Waker's art style specifically for Wind Waker. I don't want the next open world 3D Zelda game to look like the Wind Waker. I don't. I want it to be a little bit more leaning on the realism side. But leaning more isn't necessarily like realistic, right? Like I would say Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom is like, we're talking about things on a spectrum, right? Like they're leaning more towards realism than Wind Waker is, right? Like if I were to put games on the 3D Zeldas on a spectrum of like cartoony versus realism, there's no Zelda game that's all the way on one end of the spectrum where realism is at, right? There's no Zelda game that's there. There are some, and then Wind Waker, maybe you put Wind Waker at the other end, right? Like Wind Waker actually gets to the edge of the spectrum in terms of cartoony stuff. And then you have everything in between. It's interesting though, like looking at like specifically Ocarina of Time and also Majora's Mask, because you know, same engine, same art style, basically. Those games, we look at them now, or we think, oh, that was a really cool, realistic looking Zelda for the time. But I think we look at those games as realistic for the time because back then the technology could only do so much, and they weren't necessarily going for realism back then. That's just how we interpreted it because of the limited visuals. Like, I think looking at Ocarina of Time art, like, is a really great way of kind of like imagining how it would look, you know. I'm trying to find like a nice high resolution. Well, I think this is I'm not. There's others I could have shown, but this one's not bad. Like, check this out. It's just art, right? But I look at this, and you can't say this is realistic. Like, it's not. It's not realistic. Like, if this was the art for a new Zelda game, I think we would all be like, oh, whoa, that looks really good, right? But we wouldn't think it's realistic. It's kind of, I mean, it'd be on a spectrum, right? But I could imagine that they could go for something like this on Switch too, you know, and it would look amazing, you know? It has like a slight anime feel to it, but not really. Like, it's not cel shaded, you know? Not like Breath, not like Skyward Sword, not like Wind Waker at all. So I would love to see what they could do with an Ocarina of Time remake, you know, and if they were to try and realize how this could look in a game, that would be incredible. You know, you would still have like a lot of textured work, right? There wouldn't be a lot of flat stuff. There would be a lot more detail. They would definitely like, it would be a very technically impressive game by Nintendo standards for sure. So I do, at least for if we get Ocarina of Time remake, that's what I kind of envision, right? But in terms of like just the future of Zelda, I'm not against cel shaded. I like what they did with Breath and Tears. I think it was really cool. Do I want more out of like, you know, the Zelda team on better hardware? Yeah. Like I'd say like looking at Breath and Tears, like they're pretty games, but you know, the standards have increased. Like I want to see something that looks even better, you know? And I guess if you were to do Wind Waker graphics, like how much more could you really push that, you know? Like kind of like that's kind of what Breath and Tears are already. Like it uses cel shaded visuals, it just uses adult Link or 18-year, well, you know, he's arguably in his early 20s in Tears of the Kingdom, but or maybe mid 20s. There's some debate there. Yeah. I think leaning a little bit less away from cartoony is cool, but still keep it surreal, still keep it whimsical and interesting. Have semblances of realism, but not totally. All right, where was I? Okay. So, Upper Nimbus lurking. Awesome. Lex234. I love Wind Waker and Ocarina of Time's art style. I love both of them. Yeah, I'm not complaining about any art style, but if you want me to tell you what I want next, I want them to push it. I want them to pick something that blows their minds. Yeah, I want to make it clear. I don't dislike Wind Waker's art style. Oh, Velociraptor Ghost, you do hate the art style. You love the game, you love the story, just not the art style. To each their own. Rico Lee, a compromise between Breath and Wind Waker, right? To where it feels realistic without looking photorealistic. I think that's the best way for Zelda to go visually. Zelda's not about being real. I think that's well said. Or Rico Lee here continues, or between Breath and Twilight Princess would fit better actually. Wind Waker is really cartoony. I want to see something leaning a little bit more towards Twilight Princess style. Yeah, like if we want to just like look at Zelda games on a spectrum, right? Like Twilight Princess is probably the most realistic looking Zelda. And so I don't need them to do it exactly like Twilight Princess, but I mean, they could get close to that. But with modern technology, they could do something, looks way better. I think it should be pointed out that whenever there's a new era for Zelda, they completely change the art style. They never go back. Like, think about it. Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask have one art style. Those are the N64 Zelda games, right? Then on GameCube, we actually were fortunate to get two Zeldas with two completely different art styles. Two 180s of each other, Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. Then we had Skyward Sword, which is almost like an interesting in-between between Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. And then Breath of the Wild and Tears seemed to lean a little bit more towards realism than Skyward Sword, but it was a completely different art style, and that was a Switch era or end of Wii U era Zelda. And then, of course, Tears of the Kingdom was a follow-up to that, right? Like, those are the eras, right? We're going to enter a new era of Zelda on Switch 2, and so they're going to go with a different art style, unlike anything we've seen before. Can we maybe, will it be something that we can maybe make comparisons to? Sure, right? Like I said, like you look at Skyward Sword, you could say Skyward Sword's kind of like a fusion of Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, right? And then you could look at Breath and Tears and say, well, they took Skyward Sword and they kind of just made it a little bit more realistic, like you can make those arguments. And I think this also applies to 2D Zelda as well, right? You look at Link's Awakening remake, you look at Echoes of Wisdom, they use the same visual engine. I think that's just because that's how 2D Zelda looks on Switch. Switch 2, they will do something different. And I think that's just how they're going to do it because that's how they've always done it. So it's going to be something new. Velociraptor goes at me. I apologize on the hot take. It's just because I'm sick and tired of people criticizing Twilight Princess for its art style, and it has a perfect art style, and I will defend Twilight Princess to the bloody death. Hey, you don't have to apologize. That is your opinion. You are entitled to it. You're not being rude. You're just stating your opinion. Hot takes are okay. If you're not rude about it, there's nothing to criticize. It's just opinions. Now, the thing is, when you share an opinion, what happens, though, is that others may also share their opinions. And oftentimes, you will find people don't have the same opinion as you. And so there's going to be disagreements. But we can disagree or agree, or, it could be a nuanced conversation. It's not necessarily total disagreement or total agreement. Like, I love Wind Waker's art style, but I agree. I don't want to see Wind Waker's art style again. I want to see something new, whatever that is. And I do actually also agree that I think it should be more realism leaning, just not fully. Raymond Marquez. Feel free to correct me. I liked what they were trying to go for with Skyward Sword regarding art style, but didn't quite capture the expressionist watercolor style they intended. It is interesting, like, thinking about that, right? Like, there was kind of like... I remember that conversation about that. And I do think that playing Skyward Sword, right? On Nintendo Wii back in the day, on a standard definition television, where a lot of the visual details were obscured by the resolution and such. It was kind of maybe doing a better job of hitting that visual look. But when you play Skyward Sword HD, because of the extra clarity, it does look better, and arguably looks a lot better, right? But also that art style, it comes off a bit differently, if that makes sense, because of the clarity. So yeah, I agree with you. Lex, I'm also excited for hopefully a Mario Odyssey 2. I am so like that's gonna be that was crazy. Like if Switch 2 comes out like April or May, like we could be like less than half a year away from this massive Mario game. Which kind of raises the question, like, when is Nintendo gonna like show this off if it's that close? Which leads to some people thinking it's not that close, right? But we'll see. We'll see. Lewis, wait, I just joined. Is there Twilight Princess slander happening right now? Because I will not tolerate. No, I don't think there's any Twilight Princess slander happening right now. Not yet. I think a lot of us in chat are traumatized by Twilight Princess slander, so we're ready to combat the slander. But I don't think there's been any slander. Lex says, I also don't want the next game to look like Wind Waker or Twilight Princess. I was just saying I love them, but I would never expect to see that for the next game. I don't want them to go too realistic, though. Yeah, I mean, I don't want that. I agree with that, too. Like, I don't want the next Zelda game to look like Witcher 3, right? I mean, that'd be an interesting take, but there are so many games that go for a look like that. I want something a little different. And, you know, so I think something to be said about going for photorealism. You have, when you kind of depict characters, the way the faces look, like, you don't really get to see that much of the faces, if that makes any sense. Like, if you're making a realistic look, like, if you're making, like, a realistic, proportional human being, depending on the game, it may not, there are games that get it done, right? But, like, for example, I'm playing Elden Ring, and, you know, I don't really get that much out of, like, the dialogue or character moments. Not really. But like in Zelda, while a lot of people would say that the story in Soulsborne games is far more complex, and I'm not going to really argue that, right? But I do feel like I have a lot more emotional moments in the more simple stories of Zelda games, because it's simpler, but there is more focus on the expression of the characters, and they use music to play with your mood, and it's a little bit easier to follow. And I think, you know, if you go for total realism, it's harder to depict expressions, right? It's one of the reasons why anime is so good, because with anime, you can do some really over-the-top things, but you can also be really highly expressive, right? And so I think that, you know, going back to the art, to the piece of art I showed you guys for Ocarina of Time, I'll put it up on again. I think because it does highlight my point here. You look at Ocarina of Time, right? It's not necessarily anime, although it's similar. You look at like the eyes, right? Like how big the eyes are, right? Like you can, if they were to go with an art style like this, like there's a lot of expression that you can easily showcase, you know, and I think that can really help to make a more captivating experience. So I think art style matters when you're taking that into consideration. Now, again, I'm not trying to say you can't make good stories with realistic graphics. There's tons of games that do it. But how captivating are the facial expressions? It's harder to get done. Here, Nishrik chimes in. That's why Takahashi went so anime with Xenoblade 2. Ocarina of Time felt like a manga. That's an interesting point. But I love the story in Xenoblade Chronicles 2. It felt like watching a really well done anime. Yeah. Connor asked me, so for the sequel for Kirby and the Forgotten Land, what do you think it would take place in? I don't even know if it'll be directly a story sequel. I just think gameplay-wise, it's going to follow up Forgotten Land. Like, I'm not saying they're going to call it Forgotten Land 2. They're just going to make another 3D Kirby game. In terms of where it's going to take, I honestly have no idea. I think it's going to be a completely new place that we've never explored before. That's it. I mean, maybe it'll be interesting to go back to Kirby's Homeworld and see it envisioned in a 3D environment, right? Because we didn't actually explore Kirby's Homeworld in Forgotten Land. It was a different world, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was a different world. So it might be nice to just go back to Kirby's Homeworld and just see that in a fully realized 3D world. Having hope, exactly, and that's why it's my favorite Xenoblade. The anime arts and the anime storytelling makes sense. Yeah. So to the Zelda art style, like that's definitely kind of, important to take into consideration. All right. I didn't intend on having a very long stream, but I'm gonna at least put up a poll and see how you guys feel about it, and that'll be. Feel free to put in your final points or questions you guys want to bring up, or questions you want to ask me about whatever's going on. Let me try and ask you guys an interesting question though. We haven't talked about Zelda art style this time, so maybe I should ask you guys, trying to get a pulse on how we feel about that. What Zelda art style would we like? Try to think of how to word this question. What art style should the 3D Zelda team go with next? What art style should the 3D Zelda team go with next? I think yeah. Okay. Photo, realistic, like Witcher or Elden Ring. I don't know if you want to even say that's too realistic, but let's just say like Witcher. Let's just that because of that character limit. Like Wind Waker. Like the Wii U tech demo. Slightly more detailed than Breath of the Wild. All right. Okay, I think that'll do it. You guys know what I'm pretty sure most of you know what the Wii U tech demo is, right? I think you guys know. That's, it's like Twilight Princess. I'll put in parentheticals like TP, just in case some of you don't know what the Wii U tech demo looks like. All right. I'm curious. I think I know. Well, I'm actually not sure what's going to win. But photorealistic, like Witcher 3, like Wind Waker, like the Wii U tech demo, like Twilight Princess. Slightly more detailed than Breath of the Wild. I think the last two are gonna kind of be the two ones. I mean, actually, I like the Wii U tech demos winning right now. We got 23 votes so far. Although slightly more detailed than Breath of the Wild is very close. Oh, see. What's interesting is it's slightly more detailed than Breath of the Wild, and like the Wii U tech demo, might not actually be that far off from each other. Like they're arguably the same answer, arguably, because there's room for interpretation here, right? Because whatever they choose, it's not going to be anything like any of these four options, right? It's going to be something similar, maybe, but not exactly, right? So if they go for something like Breath and Tears, but maybe it's a little bit more advanced, right? It's less cel-shaded leaning, and we see a lot more texture work going on and things of that nature. Like it already then starts to look more like Twilight Princess Wii U tech demo, but then we also look at that Wii U tech demo and we try to envision how would that look, if that was realized into a full-on open world. I wonder if I can pull up a screenshot of that real quick. The Wii U tech demo. I want a screenshot. Zelda U. Oh, actually, that was it. Love this screen. This is one of my favorite like screenshots, or it used to be. Now I look at it, I'm like, wait, hold on. It's not as good as I remember. Although I have a second one here that might look better. Does this one look better? Well, these are just two different images here. So let me see. Oh, this will do. Window. I should just, yeah, I mean, that's probably, no. Chrome tab, window. Let's do window. All right. So, like, this is a screenshot from the Wii U tech demo. And I think it looks awesome. How was I full screen? Is that any better? That's a little better. Like, I think this looks really good. But, like, looking at it up close, you can see, like, this is a tech demonstration for the Wii U back in 2011. Like, if we saw a game looking like this on Switch, I think we'd be like, hey, that's a really good-looking Switch game. But also, we've advanced so much since then. They can do so much better. Like, I think the spider looks pretty good, but you look at Link's model itself, and this is kind of just ripped from Twilight Princess, and it looks pretty simplistic. Like, Link's model is probably the most disappointing part about this image. Maybe the rocks in the background look kind of simple too. But I think the spider looks pretty good. Yeah. There's another screenshot I have just kind of laying around here that I also think is worth pointing out from this tech demo. It's this one. Let me pull that one up. Share screen, window. There we go. And so you got this one. And so, like, up close, you can see that it's not even really that good looking of a model, right? Like, Link's model in Breath of the Wild and Tears looks a lot better than this. You can make the argument that there's more detail here because they're not going for the cell shading, I guess. But, like, the hair here is so basic compared to Link's hair in Breath and Tears. You look at the sword hilt, the fingers, like, this all looks pretty simple. Like, it looks kind of like an upscaled version of Link from Twilight Princess. And arguably, in some ways, it still looks kind of worse. So, you know, the tech demo depicts a really good-looking game, and if you imagine on a larger scale, it'd be pretty cool. But there would definitely be things that, like, if we get a modern game, would still look way better than this. Especially on Switch 2, which is going to be a lot more powerful. Man, it's a competitive poll. Very competitive. I'm impressed by how high Wind Waker has gone, 19%. And only 4% picking photorealistic like Witcher 3. I guess a lot of us just look at that as bad. Joycey, we should start a petition for what? Twilight Princess remake? Steven Guy, cell shading allows for better animation. Fail for cell shading sidesteps putting detail into graphics. The duality of man. You guys ever seen how Breath of the Wild looks without cell shading? It's pretty crazy. Let me see if I can pull up a screenshot of that. Breath of the Wild without cell shading. Oh my god. It's kind of terrifying. Jeez. Oh goodness. This is terrifying. Check this out. The horror. The horror. What happens? Like, there are parts that look kind of good. Like, I think they would. I mean, the point is, like, you can tell there's a lot of detail that's lacking when you don't have the cell shaded part of it, right? It looks really weird. But had they designed the game differently, right, without cell shading in mind, they could have made this model look good, but no, it looks like an evil doll. Yeah. It's terrifying. Claymation Zelda. Let's not do claymation. Yeah. Trying to see if I can find another screen. Oh, this is another interesting screenshot of it. This is actually not as bad looking. Okay, let me show you guys this one. Like, that's like, it's cool because you can see like the light a little bit. Even the fairy looks off, but you can clearly see the wings, which is nice. But Link looks like doesn't have a mouth, which is just, it's funky. It is funky. I think I saw another one that looks. I'll pull this one up too. Show you this one. Like, you look here, right? Like, this one doesn't look that bad. Like, in some ways, the game almost looks like more graphically impressive this way, if that makes any sense. It looks off, right? Like, it looks like an unfinalized game, but like, you can clearly see the geometry, right? Like, there's some decent geometry there for, Switch standards. And it's lacking in vibrance. Yeah, we need more vibrance, but I think it still looks cool. Like, I look at Link's model and I'm like, hey, there's like a lot of things going on there. Like, it's interesting. But also I still get the clay like sense. Yeah. They should just make a Zelda horror game without just like that. I'm kidding. Link exists. Tech demo 100% Zelda series is becoming oversaturated with cell shaded or cartoony art styles. It's becoming visually boring, in my opinion. You think they're doing too much cell shaded stuff? Okay. Yeah, in the screenshot I was just showing Steven Guy, we saw like mist and fog in the background, but it was kind of limited. Fail for sale. Maybe they should have applied cell shading to Link's Awakening remake. Actually, that would have been interesting, but maybe they just wanted it to really stand out in comparison to Breath and Tears, instead of just people think, oh, it's just Breath and Tears, but top down. Anyway, man, I'm looking at the vote and it's pretty close. All right, I'm gonna let it go for another minute, but I want to call it a night, right? I'm keeping tonight's stream a little bit shorter, but I might stream another again this week. I mean, I did stream yesterday, right? So it's not like I haven't been streaming. I'll give it another minute. Right now we're at 69 votes, which feels like a good place to end it. But I'm going to give some of you an opportunity to put in your vote because I see how close the last two categories are. And a couple votes could swing it one way or the other. But right now, like the Wii U tech demo, is the winning art style. Slightly more detailed than Breath of the Wild, is only losing by a little. I think it just kind of goes to show how much we appreciate the Breath of the Wild art style. Link exists. Added me. Something akin to modern Final Fantasy would also be kind of cool. Feels like that's what Twilight Princess would look like if made today. That's actually a pretty good point. Because, you look at modern Final Fantasy, you're not thinking, oh, that's ultra realistic. But it has some pretty good looking visuals. Yeah, that maybe. Something like that is pretty conceivable. And there's a lot of really pretty colors and particle effects, and I'm thinking about which one was it? Was it 15 or 14 that had like a lot of the big green sprawling fields? Like they could do some cool stuff. All right, I'm gonna end the poll. I'm ending it. Here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Poll ended. Can't say I didn't give just a little bit more time. And interestingly, by giving more time, like the Wii U tech demo, actually stretched itself apart just a little bit more. And so 41% of us have chosen that the art style that the Zelda team should go with next should be something like the Wii U tech demo. In second place, at around 38%, slightly more detailed than Breath of the Wild. 15% chose like the Wind Waker. 4% chose photorealistic like Witcher 3. Nishquick adds me, I've been listening to Reggie's book via audiobook, and it's really good and inspiring, by the way. Yeah? Okay. Okay. Cool. Very cool. The link exists. I am noting your misclick. Joycey, I bet Monolith Soft could eventually someday get their hands on making a Zelda spin-off. That would be neat. Nishquick, I will check out that Reggie book. I will check that out. Anyways, thank you all for coming by for this later night stream. I'm going to try and stream one more time this week. And fingers crossed, I've mentioned that I've been sitting on this Metroid video. It's tied into a sponsorship, and I'm waiting for them to approve it. It's getting kind of annoyed with how long it's been taking. Normally, it doesn't work that way, but this is kind of an exception. I am hoping I can drop it tomorrow because I've been sitting on it. And I'm like, oh, I really like this video. I want the drop. I feel like people are going to like it. So hopefully tomorrow it happens, but I'll be seeing you all soon. Take care.